When you look at videos like this, do you ever wonder how could we ever go this far? The answer lies within the school systems, using a tactic as old as time itself: indoctrination. Each and every person you see here was incubated in our very own schools, groomed to burst from the education system and burn down the West. This is mostly done in the form of critical race theory. For those who don't know, critical race theory is the idea that racism doesn't just come from an individual's bias or prejudice, but is deeply embedded in the entire system and its policies. That in itself isn't that bad, it's just an opinion, but the part where many people have a problem is that their solution to solving this involves discriminating against certain people to achieve the equality of others. And a perfect example of this is affirmative action, where candidates are hired based on their skin color, not based on their qualifications. This means that qualified people may not get the position if a person from a more oppressed or desirable demographic has applied for hire. Another huge problem with this agenda is that it preaches the idea of white supremacy and blames that as the cause for a lot of the oppression endured by minority groups. But regardless of whether you believe that's true or not, it shouldn't be okay to hate one race because you feel that they are better or worse than your own. And while this has mostly been an American thing, it's now knocking on Canada's door disguised as a provincial bill. Laura May Lindo, a minister of provincial parliament in Kitchener Centre, has always been vocal when it comes to the issue of racism and proposed her idea to combat this in the form of Bill 67. Unbelievably, the bill passed through 2 readings over the course of 4 months without anyone even knowing about it. My suspicion is that they wanted to fly under everyone's radar because Lindo knew that if the public ever found out, there would be huge backlash, and rightfully so. The conditions of this bill are insane. To start, all teachers will be prescribed an anti-racism examination, and only then will they be issued a certificate of qualification. Even though this isn't being done directly, this controls what kind of rhetoric is being fed to your children in the classroom, because any teacher who doesn't agree with this woke ideology simply won't be hired. Also, any person deemed as racist can get up to a $200 fine, and that includes students from kindergarten all the way up to grade 12. But what does that even mean? That's so subjective. Racism means the use of a socially constructed ideas of race to justify or support, whether consciously or subconsciously, the notion that one race is superior to another. Oh, now I understand what's going on here. The point of the entire bill is to make the definition of racism so subjective that woke lefties can now police your thoughts. If you make a comment that you don't perceive as racist at all, but someone overhears that and takes offense to it, you can be charged up to $200 under the guise that you were engaging in racism. It's absolutely mind-boggling that this is a possibility in Canada right now. But there's one thing that really caught my eye, and that's the fact that Lindo uses the word racial equity rather than equality. And this is an important distinction, because rather than wanting an equal playing field for all races, she wants to determine if you are privileged, and based on that, either hold you back or push you forward. With that in mind, I think this graphic accurately represents how everyone sees the world. Woke leftists like Lindo see the world like this, where even though there is equality, some will always be disadvantaged, and that's not okay. What they would like to do is treat everyone equitably, which means disadvantaging some in order to help others, forcefully making everyone equal. I, and many others like me, believe in a third option, which is erasing the systematic barrier completely and teaching these young minds not to judge people based on race, but on the content of their character. Whether you teach young children about race in a positive or negative way, it tells them subconsciously that race is an important factor in determining one's status in society, and that's being used for their political agenda. Who's they, you might ask? Well, there's a name that kept popping up in my research, and it's none other than the WEF. But who are these people, and what do they want? Find out in the next episode, where I go down the rabbit hole and finally answer the questions. What is the Economic Forum, and is Klaus Schwab the most dangerous man in the world.